G'day guys, and welcome to a super quick preview of Wyong. It is the 19th of April. I've just ducked through the race and give my thoughts. I'm not going to go into too depth on everything, maybe have a quick look at one or two runners in every race, but certainly won't be a super detailed preview. First race of the day, I'll talk about the rail position first. 3 metre rail, so that's in a good 4. Usually means they might get 1 or 2 off in the straight there, but it's much more lenient position than the true rail, where it normally is difficult to sort of lead, stay on the fence and win there. You still want to be up, or you want to be up there a bit closer coming to the turn than usual with that 3 metre rail usually, but you still that's pretty standard at Wyong anyway, so don't want to be too far back in the straight, and you want to be chiming in on that turn. So pressure usually comes on a bit quicker earlier at Wyong than most places for that reason. So first race of the day, quite an interesting little race. I thought just heading down the page that Spin Bowls came out of just some fair races of late. Really had its chance there, even though the leader didn't quite take it as far as he would like last time, and he looks to have found a tougher race this time, if anything. Talking to the speed there, this horse from the Godolphin horse, Siskiyou, will probably take up the lead again, even though it's coming back in distance. Spin Bowls probably heads forward with it, and they do look the speed. The Godolphin, the resuming Waller runner looks the key to this race for mine. This horse Cormac. Last preparation, it had some form around Sasuba, beaten 1.2 lengths, which is good for this, but it was sort of 1500 metres. It had a funny prep, so it resumed in November. 42 days off with 2 trials in between, so I'm not sure whether it had a setback or whether it was just maybe not quite as fit as they thought heading to the races. Came back 42 days later, put in a good performance behind Sasuba, and then up to the mile, beaten very narrowly by Falcon Island with a huge gap behind there. So that day it was 0.6 of a length by 6. Falcon Island came out and ran well in town after that, I believe. I was beaten 5 lengths, but led him up behind Savacool and Dark Dream. So that's all good form for this, considering where it all sort of lines up. The problem is blinkers off, 1300 metres, and likely to be back last in a small field. So does look to have plenty of class on these horses. It has trialled up well enough for mine. I do like that they've kept it on the fresh side with just the single trial. 1350 first up does look suitable, and I think it's the right horse. It's just a matter of whether it can round them up. Siskiyou I've talked about, it's a leader, but it's fairly one-paced and it doesn't look the right horse. It really does need to turn its form around quite a bit, even though it has some placings. It's a little bit easier than this, and definitely has never really looked the winner in any of those races. City of Love was not given a great ride first up. They decided not to sort of hold that position on pace, and I still thought it was pretty one-dimensional late. Looked pretty one-paced. It probably can improve, and up to 1350 with a run under its belt, it can do something, but I just thought it was a really poor race there. There were some really strange rides in that race, and the whole form around it was really quite scary. Go back to last preparation, its form's only fair. Obviously it has come on a little bit here, but probably the horse I'm happy to risk. And Press Review's the other one who comes out of a super strong race, looking at this Montrachet race. So Stock Up's come out and run well yesterday. Young Star's obviously come out and won. All Too Free didn't run his Miss Shanty's in a race later today. So the 2 horses here, Stock Up, Young Star, Luskin Ty Lass was the other one who's come out and won. So 3rd and 4th have won. 2nd ran against 4th, so it's hard to knock those 2. So interesting form behind Press Review. If you are really forgiving of that run, say that she's come on, I think she's the danger to the stablemate, and they're the keys to the race. Race 2, really tough race, quite the opposite to the first, where I'm a little bit against the Waller runners, even though Miss Shanty comes out of that race. I just thought she was really one-paced, and this race lacks tempo, and she may be back last again. Look for change of tactics, but she's up 400 metres in distance, while those runners in the first are only up sort of 150, and obviously Cormac's fresh, so the big jump in distance, why I'm a little bit against Miss Shanty here. Dream Genie gets a strange rider from the stable. That's weird that they'd find him at the provincials here. The run was just okay first up, looked a bit weak late. Obviously needs to improve. Royal Anthem was the winner until the rider pulled the stick through to the right hand here last time. Left hand, and it laid in on top of them. When building momentum late, I like that Royal Anthem's had the 1600 metre run under its belt. I'm just a little bit concerned about where it will get to with tempo, and I'd be trying to push forward a little bit if I was them. He's obviously a momentum horse that needs to build from a little bit early out. He's not a sit sprinter. Sugarland Express has gone 11-12 up to the mile. Certainly needs to improve the stack and needs to run that mile out. Happy to be against it. Dashing Special, very well set up. The rider change is probably a query against it, but it does certainly have a really good setup and should race on the speed. The bottom horse is entitled to be big odds. I thought Royal Anthem and Dashing Special were the two that were best set up, but not a race that I'm too excited to be a part of. Race 3. Jet through these races because I really couldn't. I thought first up for the new stable. Let's look at the speed first. It's probably more the key to this race than anything. Race 3. A little bit of pressure possible, but I do like that Sanity's drawn that outside gate and has the options to have a kind of look at them and work out where it wants to be early. Bullseye Score and Katami, they're likely to on paces, but they're not fast. I'd say that Sanity could cross them if it wants to. Katami first up for Carmen Manane. Ex-David Hayes horse, has the tongue tie and has trialled okay, but not like a serious 1,000 metre horse. I thought the key to this race was that Sanity was the real only 1,000 metre horse. I thought Bullseye Score was only limited. Katami, I'd rather be against them with it first up, even though it's trialled okay. Fudge Wedge doesn't look a 1,000 metre horse to mine. He's dangerous and draws that inside gate. If it tags through and picks up the bit and chases after him, it's probably the danger to Sanity. I couldn't find any of the others. Lexi Blue looks very one-paced for a 1,000 metre race. Wisdom Tree looked like it can be strong, but it looks like it'll get back to last and be strong late, but not to give too big a start away to a horse like Sanity. I thought it was Sanity by default in race 3. Race 4 could be a bit of tempo here, and those on speed don't look overly strong. So sort of Zanjan and possibly Ritzy Roxy kicking up there. The favourite Tanico was a good performance, chasing a debut all the way leader at Gosford. That horse came out yesterday, ran a very positive race in town. There was a good gap behind Tanico. It goes up 100 metres here. Obviously got the race experience and run under its belt now, and just looked at another horse that is the only real 1,200 metre horse and well set up. The only real danger to me on paper was Cortesta, who's come out this morning. So I don't really see a danger to Tanico. So we've got Resonaire looking for further for 1,200 metres, probably suits, but I think Tanico's just a better horse. Ritzy Roxy looks like it'll be up there on speed and battle away, but maybe a little bit weak late, same as Zanjan. So I think Tanico by default here, not much more to talk about. Race 5. A little bit more to this race, but only in explaining why it's diabolical. Lightning Lockie loses the junior rider who probably got a bit keen on our start when they raced it, and Penske raced away from the field. Penske's obviously come out and won. Lightning Lockie ran well there. I think that was the race. Sorry, just double check that was the race, because a couple of weird... Sorry, it wasn't. It was it and Fratellino that took off there. It was beaten only the 2 lengths, and that I think with the senior rider back on, if he can sort of hold this horse up, I think it's going well enough to run a race here at odds. But it should be the tempo setter most likely with Newton. I doubt that Good Host will be pressing for tempo control. The top 3 in the market, Good Host, Love None and Raise the Limit, probably looked the 3 outside of Lightning Lockie. I thought Newton really needed to lift. Fancy Nicket struggles at a solidly run mile. Capital Magic not going well enough. Jackknife is honest, but really needs everything to fall its way at provincial level. Good Host comes out of the provincial the country final the other day. We're beaten 6.5 by Victoria, and that's probably not bad form for this, and has been whacking away and winning narrow margins its last two in similar grade, even though it's country grade, but takes a brave man to step into that horse at provincial level. I thought Love None's absolutely flying. Strange race for it to find here. It goes from, it was 14 back to 12.80 up to a mile. I don't mind that if this horse has got mile form. My issue is that it's not got mile form, and it now loses a senior rider and gets the apprentice from an inside draw. All these things scare me. I think it's the best horse, but I can't chime in. Short odds. Race at Limit was given a really good ride last start, completely flattered by the ride, considering it just out sprinted the first couple in the race. It definitely wasn't a run like a mile race usually would be. Now 23 days between runs at the mile. It is proven at the mile previously, so I'm not too scared about it at the distance, but I'm just a little bit worried about where it's going to get to. It looks like it's going to give them a start here, and that it was completely flattered last start, and the prices incorporated that. So a nothing race for mine. Probably anything can win. Top three have got the class, but and Lightning Lockie maybe looks the value, but it's just a horrible little race. Race 6. Good race, I think. Can't believe that the Mist here is $7 in early betting. It's only had 3 starts in its career. Ran in I'm not sure, is that Cromwell, a 1400 metre race in December, put away 96 days later, showed up at Newcastle and battled away quite strongly there behind a really slow tempo, so that's completely against it. Then showed up in a class 1 at Nowra, 2200, so it's jumped 800 metres in a class without anything in 1. The margins there were great behind this horse, so it's a neck by 3, by 5, by 3, by 6, by 13, so really opened them up there. Obviously not a high class race, but this horse has upside, genuine upside. $7 looks huge price, considering, even though it's jumping to a benchmark 63, which is again quite a considerate jump, going from a country class 1 to a 63 provincial. Just thinking that it's just got some serious upside. Maps, well, no real knocks on it. The other runners that I thought were key runners here were Just Keep Giving, who gets the blinkers in the inside draw, has a really nice setup, having already had 4 or 5 runs at the 2000 metre. It should be nice, solid and hard for you. Interesting to see they've thrown the blinkers on, whether it's a throw at the stumps or what. It's obviously going well enough to handle that, and today could be its day. Celebrus and Word Games may be a run short, and I think that's their biggest problem, as well as Joey Joy down the bottom. All to me look like they could be a run short of their peak. The best of those 3, I thought probably Celebrus, as in would be better suited up to this distance and this class at this stage, and it's had an extra run compared to Word Games and Joey's Joy, who both only had the 2 runs back. So the Mr. Very interesting runner here for me. Just Keep Giving looks most likely challenger from the soft gate with the blinkers applied, coming off some solid form. This was just another by default race, another one I don't really want to spend too much time on. I was interested in Heat Haze, thought it trialled up really well. Looks the one to beat by default, just looks the one on the up, has trialled well leading into this, draws a nice gate, well weighted with the apprentice's claim, and certainly the horse to beat. Social Pirate's been going well in easier races, has a fitness edge on the favourite and draws nicely, should run well. I thought Billy Can was an interesting runner. I went looking for it, but its trials were just so average that I had to just risk it here. I wouldn't be surprised to see him improve sharply and come late, but I have to be with Heat Haze and Social Pirate in what looks a pretty soft race, but again, very short odds. Heat Haze about a first up runner, and I would not be taking part in the betting. Last race, and certainly the most interesting race of the day here, looks some good tempo. A little bit of it's come out, which is a shame, with the scratchings of 7, 8 and 9. But there still does look a bit of good pressure up front here with the likes of Siam, the Drake. Where's my map? It's hiding. You can see from wide here, so Siam, the Drake, Little Steiny, Ondo, Pass are all sort of one head forward. Montrachet in the middle wants to find a spot, and Ace Co wants to find a spot. Sweet Bouquet's got speed. Siam and Artemis Rose want to hold their spot. So I think there'll be some good natural pressure here. Last race of the day, usually a bit of added pressure. I'm not sure why, but it's just a general look that seems to happen. Like everyone gets a bit more itchy feet at the end of the day, unless the fence is no good or it's a wet track. But today we shouldn't get either of those things. Interesting race. I thought Montrachet was really good first up. Obviously, won in town there at Rosehill in a 3-year-old filly's maiden. Obviously draws a little bit awkwardly here in the middle. Whether they use her up early or try and find a spot, she could be in an awkward position, but still looks the one well and truly on the up and a deserved favourite. $2.70 about its right price. So I think I marked it about $3, $3.25 maybe if I was lenient to other runners. But it does look the one with the most upside in theory, but I do not think it's anything bulletproof here. The other two runners I thought was suited. I didn't like Siam. I thought that the trials were only fair, and I was happy to be against it early in its preparation. Artemis Rose I thought had its chance last night. Gate 1 with the blinkers is interesting. I'm not sure what they're going to do there, but this is probably D-Day for her. The Drake looked like it needed more running first up. The Little Steiny was 900, 1200 last up, which is a good effort to win off that setup. Not easy to do that. And certainly looks an improved runner, but this is again quite a step harder than last time when it won. I thought the two that I did like were Popular. Trial guys have identified it as a horse that looks to have come back really well, quite forward and ready to go in its first up run. 1200 metres with good tempo on should suit this horse. Just want to make sure that there is a bit of it's possible to run on, let's just say that, and can be in the finish, probably the one to beat for mine. And Naceco, who just draws ideally to sit just behind that tempo somewhere if it wants to. 1200 metres fresh seems fine for this horse, and it seems the value runner about the $13-14 mark in early betting. So for me, the last race is a bit of value in Popular and Naceco. You definitely want them to be running on for Popular. Naceco is more adaptable, and Montrachet is the other runner there, but I'm thinking it's well found in the market. So a couple of horses throughout the day that look interesting, keeping an eye on the pattern and hoping we have a bit of luck. Good luck, guys.